Good evening and welcome. This is Priscilla Phantom and you are listening to The Phantom Myth. In this episode, I will be joined in the studio with my cousin, Sam, Aunt Carol's son. He's visiting from the mainland. He and Charlie should get here near the end of the broadcast. It is my hope that Sam can give us an outsider's perspective on just how strange this island is. For now, however, I'm going to read you a story from Heather Worthing, who lived on this island for just under a year and a half in the late 90s. She now lives in Norfolk. However, while she lived on the island, she worked at Milton's music shop, and her letter may shine some light on the mysterious Milton and what happened to him. Now, let's see if Miss Worthing has any answers for us. Dear Miss Phantom, a few months ago, my friend Harry sent me a link to the East Graves news article which talked about your show. He knew I lived on East Grave, but I rarely talk about it. I've been listening to the last few episodes of your show, and I think now might be the time to break my silence on this. I was always scared that people would call me mad, but I don't think I care anymore. And something tells me that you're about ready to believe my story. You know, you've always known that every monster, every horrific god, every story, the cults and creatures, the sirens and the killers, it's all true. The thing is, I only started seeing these things when I lived on the island. Never before, never after. I don't think it's that I never noticed them before I came to your island. I believe that these things, they don't exist anywhere else, or at least they don't have such a tight grasp on our reality anywhere else. Another thing I found that's strange is that most people around here have never heard of East Grave. I rarely find it documented on a map, or if I mention it, they'll swear up and down that there's no island that large, so far off the Suffolk coast. When I was young, my dad used to talk to me about East Grave Island. It was actually something of a family legend. He told me that his mother and my grandmother grew up there, and that we have bloodlines that go back as far as we can record. He said in the year 1605, a relative of ours, Rupert Battle, even opened a law firm with his friend and colleague, Albert Gage. Some members of my family still run it. My grandmother, Cynthia Battle, emigrated when she was 22. She got a job at cleaning houses, and one of those houses belonged to Mr. and Mrs. Worthing. There she met their son, Leo, whom she later married. Apparently, my grandmother rarely talked about the island she grew up on. My dad said he had a vivid memory of her telling him, "Do not go to the island. East Grave is a cursed place of monsters and ghouls," which, as warnings go, always seemed rather vague. That part of the story always piqued my interest. I never believed the supernatural. I mean, how could I? It was ridiculous. People running around supposedly haunted buildings, talking about cold spots and apparitions in the middle of the night. It's called leaving a window open and letting the shadows play tricks on your mind. I never believed. But I liked the idea that there was more out there to explore. My mum used to say I had an adventurous spirit. I don't regret going to your island. It was not a pleasant experience, but I learned a lot whilst I was there, the most prominent of which was that I don't want all my questions answered. I don't need to know everything. I don't want to. The pursuit of knowledge is noble, but trying to know the unknowable, that path only leads to madness. When I was 26, I decided I wanted to go out and visit my family on the island. I sent a letter to them, but I never received a reply, so I figured I would get on the next boat going that way. I did some research and found out that there was absolutely no passenger ships going to and from Eastgrave. But I did find out that the ships with the name Eventide painted on the side were from an import company situated on Eastgrave itself. So I did the reasonably unreasonable thing and approached one of the crewmen and bribed him to smuggle me on board. I don't think I expected it to actually work, but I made it to the island undetected, and I snuck off the ship at the first chance I got. I went to Gage and Battle. They were nice enough, but didn't seem interested in getting to know my side of the family. The receptionist did suggest a place I could stay whilst I was there. Apparently, the owner of the local pub, the King's Heart, usually had a room if anybody needed it. I followed her directions and found myself standing outside a pub with a friendly painted sign which read, "The Cloak and Dagger." I went in and spoke to the man behind the bar, and he looked younger than myself, so I thought he might be the owner's son. I told him my name and I explained my situation. He told me his name was Cyril Clements, and he had just taken over the place and renamed it. But people in the town were still calling it the King's Heart, as it had been known as that for years. Cyril agreed to let me stay in the spare room above the pub. I sat at the bar and ordered a drink, and we got talking about music. I told him I played drums and keyboard, and he told me he used to play the guitar in a band when he was in high school, but he hadn't picked up an instrument in years. Then he asked me how I came to be on the island, and when he heard how poorly planned this trip was, he told me if I ever needed a job, I could talk to his friend Milton, who owned a music shop in town. I thanked him, and the next day I paid a visit to Milton Jones of Milton Music Shop, and I started my first shift the next day. For a while, everything on the island seemed normal. I couldn't see why Grandma would call this place a place of monsters. The people seemed nice and welcoming, but a little surprised to meet a stranger. I even spoke to the owner of Eventide and convinced him to ship letters home for me if I paid him 50p a letter I sent or received. Obviously, you have your own mail system, but you were not very connected to the rest of the world. I don't know if that's any different now, but I sent this letter to you via your new shipping company. I forget the name. I sent letters home once a week. My parents seemed annoyed that I had embarked on this adventure, but they were happy it was going well. However, there was always one thing that seemed strange. The green door at the back of Milton's music shop. It had a little plaque that read, "Staff." I asked Milton about the door and he told me it went outside, and that answer satisfied me for a time. I realised it was on an exterior wall, and if you could consider the layout of the shop, with the way it looks from the outside, it made sense until I took the bins out for the first time around a month into working there. It didn't strike me as strange straight away. It was only later that I realised the bin were situated at the back of the shop, but there was no door out there. There was a window, though, through which I had glimpsed the inside of the shop, and I knew exactly where the door should be, but there was nothing there. I think I shrugged it off with the idea that it was possible they had just done a really good job of bricking up the doorway from the outside. And then I started to forget things. Little things at first, like my walk home would seem much shorter and I would realise that I'd never passed Belladonna Park. My memories skipped straight to walking in the door at the Cloak and Dagger, and somehow it all seemed normal at the time. Then I started forgetting whole days. Often it would be a week or so, and then after that it'd happen again when I realised I had absolutely no recollection of things I had done that day. I used to go to bed around 10, but one night I stayed up after the pub had closed and had a drink with Cyril, who was becoming a good friend of mine. We only had 2 drinks each, and we were sitting at the bar talking at around 11:30. Then I was standing in the high street, soaked through from the rain. I hurried back to the pub and found Cyril sitting at the bar, asleep with one hand still curled around an empty beer glass. And in front of him was a piece of paper and a pen. On the paper he had written, "Don't look behind the door. It leads nowhere." It was obviously a strange note, but I did notice that the N in nowhere was a capital, suggesting what? Nowhere was its own place? Could you actually go to nowhere? I locked the door of the pub and swiped the piece of paper off the counter and shook Cyril awake. He mumbled, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "You fell asleep again at the bar," I told him. "Oh, how embarrassing," he muttered, wiping his drool from the bar top. He seemed fine, but I did notice that his clothes, like mine, were soaked through from the rain. When I closed my eyes that night, I dreamt of the green door back at Milton's music shop. I walked over to the door, and when I got close, it creaked open by itself, revealing a darkness that seemed to swallow the light so completely. And then the darkness moved, and something smiled at me. No, not something. Some things. There were 100 some things in nowhere, all creeping closer and closer. I could feel them there. Some were so close and getting closer. I reached out a hand and my fingers grazed something in the dark. No. This wasn't right. This shouldn't be here. I backed away and stumbled over something, falling to the floor. I scrambled further back over this thing to get away from the door, and as I did, I realised just what it was that I had fallen over. An arm lay across the floor, and as I followed it with my eyes, I was met with the sight of Milton's face. His skin was pale blue, and the expression was frozen in silent screams. The face of a dead man. And then he moved his finger. "Milton," I whispered, and the corpse blinked. He was not alive. He did not move like a person, more like, you know those puppets, the marionettes held up by pieces of string, and imitation of life, imitation of a living thing. I screamed and kicked out at him. He slowly sat up, and his eyes locked on me, and I felt this strange calm roll over me. I was frozen in place, watching him. Don't be afraid of the door. The monsters are already here, he told me, his voice hollow, and behind him something stepped out of the darkness beyond the door. It was tall, but hunched. It had white skin, but looked blistered and had black ooze dripping out of its wounds. It dropped down and crawled along the floor. It reached out and I stayed still, awaiting the jaws of death. But it didn't want me. It grabbed Milton by the ankle and began dragging him towards the door. Both Milton and the monster disappeared into the dark, and I closed my eyes, fearing I would be next. When I opened my eyes, a ray of sunshine fell through the windows, and outside I could hear birds chirping happily, and for a moment the waking world felt more fake than the things that I had just seen. I guess I had sleptwalked all the way to the music shop. The dream itself had been disturbing, and I had found myself wandering with a kind of detached idleness. What was real and what was a nightmare? The little green door was closed. I didn't try the handle, but I suspect it was locked. They had taken what they wanted. I left Eastgrave after that. Only then did I realise how strange everything else was. Missing people who were never found and whom nobody remembers, but bear the family names known on the island. The dead bodies that are never identified. The things people have seen, the fact that I was far from the only one to have missing memories, to the point where I never thought about seeking medical attention for it. I mean, it's just common knowledge that you should never go to the woods alone, even though those woods are very small and it should be impossible to get lost in, and that little part of your mind that says there's somebody watching you and that tells you, run. Run away from this place at all costs. Leave your home, your friends, your family, and run. All these things that you can think are normal are far from it. Your island is a strange place, home to things I cannot explain. Priscilla, I know you want answers, but I ask you to do one thing. For the sake of yourself and everyone you care about, be careful. We have no right to know some things. Wow, this is an imaginative letter that seems to tie in quite closely with what everybody else is saying. I have to admit that this is a strange place, and it does raise a previously asked question. Why does nobody remember Milton? There's no denying he ever existed. His name is printed across the shop front in the high street. We now have a last name for him. Jones. I went to school with William Jones, but Milton Jones rings no bells for me. As I suspect it doesn't for anyone else living on the island. I want to write this letter off as a hoax, but I'm not sure I can. Hello?
Hi, Scylla. It's been a long time.
Ah, listeners, it seems our guest speaker has arrived. Hello, Sam. Is Charlie with you?
Oh, he's just parking the car. He'll be up in a minute.
Ah, I see. Please take a seat.
Thanks.
So, Sam, you said that I could interview you as somebody who's grown up here and moved to the mainland, but is now visiting once again. You could give us a fresh perspective on the island. Shall we start now?
Ask away, Scylla.
Eastgrave seems to have a significant number of unsolved crimes of a peculiar nature. How do you think this correlates with the crimes committed in Suffolk?
Well, I think it's a matter of perspective. The media will cover the strange and uncommon crimes because they're just that, strange and uncommon. The people in this island seem to...
Oh, God.
What's happening?
I don't know, but I think somebody has broken into the station.
Does this happen a lot?
We should barricade the door. Harvey, I suggest you do the same.
Why not just lock it?
It's, broken.
Why?
Yes, this does happen a lot.
Oh, I guess we should barricade the door.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Charlie.
I wouldn't worry about it.
I'm going to call him.
Scylla, I don't think Charlie...
He's not picking up.
What is that?
I don't know, but I think it used to be a person. Oh God, where is Charlie?
Do you think that window's strong enough to keep it out?
No. But I don't think it can fit through that little glass panel in the door.
Oh.
Harvey! No!
They could get through that window if they broke it, couldn't they?
Harvey, oh God.
Scylla, focus. How do we stop them getting in?
I don't know, Sam. Oh God, Charlie.
I wouldn't worry about him so much.
How could you say that? He's out there and...
It didn't seem right when he gave me a lift from the docks. You're the same as I remember, but he seems different. Don't tell me you don't see it.
What are you saying?
Don't you think he's trying to drag you into all this?
What do you mean?
Well, you were doing so well. And then he comes along and all this happens.
You're saying you think he meant for me to die here? You're wrong. He's my brother, No.
Okay, I'm just saying. It seems convenient he's not trapped in this room with us. Ah, just look out the window.
Charlie? Why? Are they not hurting him?
How well do you know your brother?
No. It's Charlie,
Priscilla, are you okay? Can you let me in?
Don't do it.
Who are you?
I'm your brother. It's me, Charlie. Pris.
Not you. You. Who are you really?
Me? I'm your cousin, Sam. You remember me, Priscilla. I'm Carol's son. We used to... No, what are you doing? Don't do that. Don't let them in.
I trust you, Charlie.
Are you okay, Pris?
Where are they?
Where or who? Why did you lock the door?
I thought I saw. Sam told me you...
Who's Sam?
Our cousin. Aunt Carol's son. He said you picked him up from the docks and drove him here.
Priscilla, we don't have a cousin. Aunt Carol never had any children.
Oh. I knew that. But he was just here.
Who?
Sam. I don't know.
Priscilla, there's nobody here. Except for that...
Harvey. Oh my God, I thought... Charlie, I think something strange is happening.
That's kind of what I've been telling you.
Huh. I'm still on the air. We'll get to the bottom of this. Sleep well, dear listeners.
The voice of Priscilla Phantom is Lyndsey Evans. The voice of Charlie Phantom was Matt Hill. The voice of Sam was Robert Williams. The Phantom Myth was written, edited and produced by Sasha K Williams. Thank you for listening to the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't you just hate it when you have a big family get together and all your imaginary relatives turn up? Ugh, it's the worst. Have a superb day.